Hari Om, everyone. I'll start us off with one Om. Oh. Hari Om, everyone. Welcome to our May Wellness Workshop on redefining success. Really excited to have two really dynamic speakers, Zui Ji and Sumanji. This month is a continuation of our celebration of our Cleveland retreat, where we had three major themes. Last month, we talked about mental health. Today, we're going to talk about redefining success. And at a later date, we will continue the conversation around the third theme of our Cleveland retreat. So I will go ahead and introduce Zui. So Zui is a macro social worker and trainer of workforce programs on a number of different fronts, from life skills to young adult engagement to supporting domestic and global efforts to support crisis prevention. Zui is a parent of two and is always enthusiastic to connect with young people and those who are not so young on being introspective and their journeys through self-development. I'm really excited to have you all interact with Zui today. She led a really dynamic workshop with a number of different post-its on walls, and so she's bringing that. They are bringing that same energy to this same workshop. So I'll go ahead and pass it to Deepal. And Deepal, go ahead.
I have the privilege to introduce Sumanji this evening. So a little bit about Sumanji. After pursuing various societal avenues but remaining unfulfilled, Sumanji attended a satsang in Pittsburgh, and Sumanji then encountered Advaita Vedanta through Vivekji. And convinced of its potential, Sumanji enrolled in a 2-year residential Vedanta course under Swami Prakashananda in Trinidad and Tobago. After returning from the Vedanta course, Sumanji began serving Chinmaya Mission Niagara and Cleveland. Currently, Sumanji works as an IT manager in Providence, Rhode Island, and actively travels throughout the country sharing Vedanta's core message of independent joy to everyone from young children to adults. Sumanji, we've had the opportunity, my family and I have had the opportunity to be with Sumanji and learn from Sumanji at a recent yatra in Trinidad in last November. And I also got the opportunity to learn from, Sumanji at the Mentorship Sangha retreat, our very first one in Cleveland. And so we are so grateful to Sumanji and Zui for being here and sharing with us this evening and continuing a little bit of what they shared with us in Cleveland back in March. So I'll hand it over to Sumanji. Hari Om.
Hari Om Deepal, Hari Om Rishi, Hari Om everyone. It's good to see you, good to be with all of you. I realized I couldn't stop smiling since Rishi began chanting Om, and happily. It really is good to be with everyone. And as we're revisiting some of our content from our workshop a number of weeks ago with Juie and myself on redefining success, we had explored one central question. What does it really mean to be successful? And how might we be chasing a version? I'm not saying it's the wrong version or the right version, but chasing a version of success that hasn't resulted in our fulfillment. And as we explored this idea, one of the principles we revolved around was the idea of the secular versus the spiritual, the root of how we define success, or rather the vision we carry. And I had shared a short story, more of a personal one. I think at that time I shared two, but what resonated most was the personal one in the context of my father and mother. And when I was young and we would go out to social gatherings, one of the most frequent questions we might all encounter, and I would see my father and mother encounter, was, "What do you do?" And when this was posed to my father, he would confidently share, I work for the state government, I'm an accountant, so on and so forth. But when my mother was asked this very same question, she would timidly say, "I just stay at home," often with hesitation, sometimes with embarrassment. And her response really stuck with me. Why was there discomfort in her answer? And as I thought about this over time and so on and so forth, I came to realize it was because of the vision she had of success that was passed down to her. And for many of our immigrant parents, this vision is similar. Survival was the goal. Survival meant money, money meant food, money meant shelter, money meant security. So success was equated to income. And my mother was not bringing in money. So she felt what she was doing wasn't valuable. But wasn't she the one taking care of myself and my sister, raising us with values, with healthy bodies and minds, managing the home? A question I often ask our younger seekers is, would you rather be a physician, a musician, an athlete, an artist, so on and so forth? And then finally, I'll share a good person. And they'll burst out. They'll be like, no, astronaut, no, fireman, no, so on and so forth. But the one that's just an afterthought is always that good person. And in all of these professions, all of these occupations, one can be any of them, but if one isn't a good person, really one's own peace and the peace of others, that is compromised, that is sacrificed. So when I think on this vision and I think on my mother, she wasn't just contributing, she was fundamental in this facet. And so when we ask ourselves what it means to be successful, our first point of reflection should be, what is my vision? The way to understand what our current vision is to take a hard look at what you value. What we value shapes our behavior. And so the logical question with that piece of knowledge is, what shapes what we value? And that would bring us to our vision. Yata drishti, tata shrishti. Sow your vision, sow your world. And we'll dive a little deeper when we think on this secular and sacred vision. If we were to zoom out from this example of our parents and their vision of survival, an example I had shared during our satsang was, what do countries use to measure success? GDP, economic output. And here, when we think on this, the macro reflects the micro and vice versa. And so we see this measure of success is mirrored in our own lives. We define success with external markers. So success for many of us is a measure of self-worth based on an external standard of comparison, defined by articles, beings, circumstances, pleasure, possessions, and position. We start to believe our self-worth depends on how much of these we have. And we've been conditioned into this from all sides, society, media, culture. But ask yourself, has that worked for you? Every time you have achieved one of these milestones, you've traveled to a new country, you bought a new car or a new home, you've gotten that promotion. has it felt like it was enough? To be fair, to be honest, it felt fulfilling, didn't it? To a degree. But that didn't last. When we got that promotion, we weren't looking back at what we've accomplished. We were looking forward at how much others have accomplished and what we need to do next. If we had achieved those things and that fulfillment lasted, there would have been rest. But there hasn't been. After each adventure or country, we're looking to the next. How can we revisit that place and do it right the second time? Yeah? And so, thinking on this, do we see happy people around us unanimously? We don't. Often, those with the most success are dissatisfied or anxious or deeply unfulfilled. And so, this measure of success that we subscribe to is not working. I don't think I need to tell us that. I don't think you need to be told that. I think that's our experience. So cancel that subscription, right? Why keep doing what isn't working, what isn't making us happy? To keep doing what we are doing and expecting different results, that is the very definition of insanity. This secular vision of success has led us to more stress, more comparison, more dissatisfaction. What we need is a spiritual vision. And that spiritual vision reframes success through right thinking and right knowledge. And before we dive in and revisit that content, Juie will help us begin to think about success as we understand it now in some dynamics. So I'll hand it off to Juie.
Thank you, Sumanji. Hari Om, everyone. Ready? Are you near your keyboard? Ready to type? I hope so. Vivek, I was going to call you Vivekji Sumanji. I was listening to Sumanji and the words that really stood out for me, just unsubscribe. It's that simple. So if you are able to, I'm just going to quickly put this in chat. If you are able to click on that link, a browser should open up and it's a simple whiteboard. And on the right corner of the whiteboard, you'll see like a Google Maps based thing. You can click on it to figure out your bearing on the whiteboard. It's like an infinite board that makes us feel it will give us peace. It's not going to. On the left side, if you go on the yellow side, yeah, just type in your vision of success on the yellow sticky note. You double click, think about it for a moment, and type. And you can move them around, but that's okay. We're just typing a vision of success. Lavanya, if you unclick the map, then we can see the whiteboard. Like,
So we like the map that we talked about. What do you mean by
good. I was able to do. Good.
You were able to? Okay.
Yeah. And those of us need to zoom in and zoom out. On the right side, there's minus and plus to read. If you feel you're settled with your vision and want to read others, you can double click and reply on somebody's sticky, or you can add an emoji. You might have more than one vision. Maybe. appreciates everyone thinking deeply. Sumanji, passing it on to you.
Sure. Reading our current vision of success, as so many of you had shared, it just makes me think how advanced so many of you already are. The first sticky was being independently joyous. The next was being better than myself in each moment, right? Contentment, be happy. Why are we having this workshop? Such a great vision in such a wonderful community. As we begin to redefine success, we flow through vision, and then we flow to right thinking and right knowledge. And here, a simple way of beginning to think about this is the functional versus the fundamental. If our first part was the secular versus the sacred or spiritual, this second facet is the functional versus the fundamental. And here the focus is on the ego. And as we dive into this ego, we'll go deeper into Vedanta, where it's shared our nature is happiness, where it was shared on our sticky board that that's all we are, right? Contentment, be happy, solid. But we share this and we have an intellectual appreciation for it, but then we're tossed about during our day, aren't we? That notion of success that we're saying isn't important, we still find ourselves comparing, we still find ourselves acting on these comparisons. So, really, we have this intellectual appreciation, but we've forgotten that nature, that which is fundamental, that we are independently joyous. And in that forgetting, what takes presence, what takes the forefront is the ego. And that ego tries to feel infinite through those articles, beings, circumstances, through those three P's. And it's not just one article, being, circumstance. It's not just one pleasure, possession, position. It's more, more, more. And it doesn't matter how much more, it's never enough. And this is the key to navigating this pattern of behavior of this ego. That this ego, through this body, mind, intellect, is trying to feel infinite through that which is finite. And the kicker is, it's not just the articles, beings, circumstances, it's not just those three P's that are finite. It's that very ego and that instrument that is finite itself. And so in Vedanta, two very specific words are used to describe this ego, body, mind, intellect, the body, and the world in which it experiences. The body is shared as this sharira. Sharira in Vedanta or Sanskrit means shiryate iti sharira, that which is ever perishing. And the world is called jagat, meaning jayate gachati tishtati iti jagat, that which comes, goes, and as though remains, i.e., that which is ever changing is what is called the world. And so when we think on this ego, this body, this instrument, and the world in which it operates, it becomes quite evident that we're irrationally trying to find lasting happiness through perishable and changing things. It's like I want to build a home and I decide I'm going to start my foundation on the beach in quicksand. How long is that home going to last? It can't. That upon which it is being built is ever shifting. And so Vedanta is teaching us how to think rightly about ourselves. not just about ourselves, but our relationship with the world through right knowledge. So, right thinking and right knowledge. And Vedanta reminds us that this ego is nothing more than a tool, it's an instrument, and that we've confused this instrument as functional when, or sorry, we've confused this instrument as fundamental when it is not. It is functional. So we begin redefining success by returning to our true self, our true identity, not this limited ego, but our limitless nature, Sat Chit Ananda. Now, I feel deeply moved by what was shared. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But the question you should be asking is, great, right? Right thinking, right knowledge, Vedanta. Now, what do I do with this? Right? How do I begin to practice? How do I live this? Before we transition to this, we're going to think a little bit more about vision and this functional and fundamental through some dynamics that Juie will guide us through.
Sumanji's words are making me think. It just that idea seems, I guess, the word Sumanji said is definition of insanity in the first part. Like, I know I can hold bead sand in my hand only if I don't squeeze it, but I keep squeezing it. Like, I know it, I shouldn't be doing it, but I keep squeezing it and the bead sand keeps falling out. So like, it seems so obvious, but at the same time, I keep doing it every day. Like, I do definitely feel anxious when I'm late going somewhere, very, very much. And I've tried my best. Okay. I'm not saying I was lazy. I didn't snooze my alarm. I don't do all those things, but at the same time. So I was looking at our definition of vision of success. Initially, me and Sumanji had thought, let's ask everyone to redefine it again. And I'm thinking may not be that helpful to redefine it again. So if we are able to go back on our whiteboard, maybe look at your definition of vision one more time and asking yourself, is there some way you can make it specific for you? That's more clear. It's more expansive. If you think if it's not expansive, try to redefine it on the orange side. You can write in yellow side, doesn't matter. You know which ones is yours. Or if you think it is very clear to you, then write for yourself what tells you that. What's a proof for your own self that, I lived an independently joyous day today. What told me that? 1, 2, 3 things. Whoa, I just got upset at my kid. Did I live independently joyous? Maybe not. So what are the proofs? So either redefine it, specify it, or write a proof for yourself, for your vision. So meaningful writing. I hope you think deeply and write more and think about it. Some of them I started writing comments on thinking, oh, I wish I could do that. So you sharing your vision felt like I could expand mine. Um, so very much appreciate that everyone wanting to live certain virtue and a value. At least that's the observation I was finding when I was reading it. Sumanji, did you see any observations?
Yeah, just really appreciating what everyone is sharing. It's kind of like this is the aspiration and this is my experience. Like people had shared, all is all is. This is what I would tell myself when, I did yell at my I don't have children, but my imaginary children, right? In that instance where I'm independently joyous, but I'm frustrated. Why is this happening like this? So I'm appreciating that we are aware of the aspiration and perhaps a bit of disconnect between our experience. Really solid reflections. And as I'm thinking more on what was being shared in this set of sticky notes versus prior, I'll come back to this idea, which is our aspiration is such independent joy, contentment, but our experience may not be this yet. But what's important is when we recognize this is the ideal versus this is the application, this is what I'm living, what our action item should be is to begin carefully evaluating what we value and why, so we can begin to redirect ourselves. It's the difference really between what we say we value and how we choose to spend our time. We may say we value being independently joyous, but are we prioritizing all of our efforts to do this? Our time, our effort, our resources, they should all be directed towards the divine. And this brings us to the final idea that was shared during our workshop, from vision being secular to sacred, from right thinking and right knowledge shifting from the functional to the fundamental, to finally success not being about being the best, but about being your best. Most of us, in pursuing success, are caught in chasing being the best, beating others, standing out, collecting accolades. This is success rooted in comparison, being the best. But this is not how Vedanta, our scriptures, guide us. They guide us to be our best, to do our best not simply for an outcome, but because in doing our best, what we begin to realize, what begins to become revealed to us, is that infinite potential that we all possess. And to help us explore this, I had shared two verses from Hanuman Chalisa. These were Chaupai 16 and 17. I'm going to chant them because I just love chanting them. Tuma upakara sugriva hikina, Rama milaya rajapada dina, Tumaro mantra vibhishana mana, Lankeshwara bhai saba jagajana. And in these two verses, two personalities are talked about. Sri Santosidasji is sharing, Hanumanji, you gave advice to Sugriva to go meet Sri Rama. And what happened? Sugriva was given kingship, he was given kingdom. And in the very same vein, Hanumanji, you told Vibhishana to go surrender at Sri Rama's feet. He doesn't care, your lineage, what you've been doing, where you live, so on and so forth. Just go meet him. And when he went and met him, Sri Rama didn't call him Rakshasa or Vibhishana, he called him Lankeshwara. He already crowned him the king of Lanka. He too got kingdom and kingship. And so in both of these Chaupais, we see Sugriva and Vibhishana choosing Sri Rama, following the advice of someone who had also chosen Sri Rama, Sri Hanumana. And who is Sri Rama? Sri Rama is none other than peace. And so when we think, what does Sri Rama give them? For many of us, it's like, wow, they got Lanka, they got a whole island with castles made of gold, they got pools, they got gardens, they got whatever they want. They got servants, they got silk clothes, they got laddus, they got ice cream, they got everything. Now, they might have gotten all of these things. But when we think if each were given kingdoms, kingdoms are not, the dharma of having a kingdom, being a king, is not enjoyment. It's great responsibility. The dharma of a king is the welfare of their people. If you just consider the responsibility of ensuring a child's welfare when one becomes a parent, it's tremendous, isn't it? Now imagine that in the context of a country, when one becomes a king, all of the citizens of that country, of that nation, become as though the child, the responsibility of that king. Their very welfare rests with that king. So what these Chaupais really allude to is Spider-Man. When Peter Parker is finding out that he's been bitten by a radioactive spider, and his uncle tells him, you've got these great powers, but with great power comes great responsibility. And this is what Bhagavan Sri Rama has given those who choose Bhagavan Sri Rama, peace. So choose peace, choose Sri Rama, prosperity will follow. All of that is inevitable. And if you think when we choose prosperity alone, the way we have in our understanding of success, articles, beings, circumstances, possessions, pleasure, position, peace is not guaranteed. Otherwise, why would we be seeking? It is only because something is amiss we are seeking. So practically, what does choosing Bhagavan Sri Rama, what does choosing peace in our lives mean? I'll share this as 2 E's and 2 S's. The first 2 E's, they are embracing responsibility, as we've just been talking about. And if you think about this very practically, when you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, how do you feel? For all of those who had said they were coming to Mentorship Sangha right now and told other people and aren't here, how are they feeling? They're going to be fragmented, sad. What are they going to say? Why didn't I come? Is this really an excuse or is this a legitimate reason? We begin to feel disintegrated. We begin to feel doubtful, not confident, the very opposite of that, isn't it? So embracing our responsibilities helps us integrate ourselves. This is the very meaning of Dharma. Sanatana Dharma, or perpetual self-development, or embracing responsibilities. Dharma means to integrate, to make whole within and without. And so when we observe ourselves, when we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, we see that disintegration. And another thought here is when you are not living up to your values and virtues, how do you feel? Choosing peace means embracing responsibilities. The second E, which I just alluded to preemptively by accident, is embracing virtues over vices. I had just shared that dharma integrates, unites, vices or adharma separates. It makes us feel smaller. How many of you have ever told a lie? Don't raise your hands because we all know we've all told lies. Okay? And when we tell a lie, we have to tell so many more lies to uphold that, isn't it? Our very mind begins to disintegrate, begins to become fragmented. And so then the opposite is obviously true. Virtues and our responsibilities integrate us. They naturally make us feel more confident, more peaceful. These are our two E's and our two S's. The first is serve. Choosing peace doesn't mean just looking after ourselves. In chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Sri Krishna shares, along with yajna, dedication, sacrifice, man was created. All beings were created with yajna. And Bhagavan Sri Krishna then shares, knowing this, be dedicated, and what you want will come. Now, when this is shared in verse 10 of chapter 3, the only part we listen to is that last pada. What you want will come. Right? But that is not the focus. The focus is yajna. We weren't created to do whatever we want to get what we want. We were created alongside dedication and sacrifice. So that is the focus. That is the MO of the universe. Regular sacrifice. All of creation is constantly sacrificing for the created. It is only us with our small egos that does not act similarly. The sun burns. Because of it, we have light. Because of that light, we have an atmosphere. Because of that atmosphere, we have plants that give us food. And without those plants and that food, we wouldn't have oxygen to breathe either. When we look to the world, we see that it is constantly giving to support all, giving more than it takes. But we take, we get and forget, as Gurudev has shared. So what's being shared is serve, give. And there are only three things we can give in this world: our time, our effort, and our resources. Our fortune is that none of us are waking up and worrying about when our next meal is, if the water is safe to drink, if there's going to be bullets flying across our doorstep. Our privilege is that the functional is looked after so we can focus on the fundamental. Peace. To not share this opportunity, this privilege, is irresponsible, is adharma. And a last thought on this, or rather the last S. From serve, we go to surrender. Surrender very practically means doing your best. Do your best in all that you do. Feel whatever you are doing is most important. Then you can take refuge in the very hard work that you have put forth, rather than the outcome. This is our typical mentality. We are never thinking about the work at hand. We're thinking about what's to come. And that outcome is not guaranteed, nor does it last. So focus on the work itself. Learn to bring your mind where your hands are working, as Gurudev shares. A couple closing thoughts. Choosing peace means embracing responsibilities, embracing virtues. It means serve or seva, and it means surrender, doing your best. And when we engage in these four, success, prosperity in a worldly way, that is inevitable, no matter what that will come. Now, I shared it backwards, but if you took EESS and reversed it, it spells C incorrectly. I'm aware. SSEE. Really, I'm just telling you to go with me here. SSEE, C. This is the acronym. Surrender, serve, embrace virtues, embrace responsibilities. And it is this that is the catalyst for grace or anugraha in our lives. Grace takes four forms. There is the grace of God, or Ishvara Kripa. There is the grace of our Shastras, or Shastra Kripa. There is the grace of our Guru, our teacher, or Acharya Kripa. And the final grace is Svakripa, your own grace. And all of it begins with Svakripa, your grace, your desire to grow, your desire to change your vision from the secular to the sacred, to focus on the fundamental, not the functional, to do your best rather than be the best. And it is your steady effort to live this sincerely. When you begin to embrace your responsibilities, embrace virtue, embrace service, embrace surrender, who inevitably shows up? Acharya Ji. When Acharya Ji comes, Shastra opens. Shastra begins to reveal itself to us through that guide. And when Shastra opens, this is when divinity, Ishvara Kripa, embraces us. There's nothing more important. That is the truest success. I'll pause there and we'll shift some more application.
Thank you, Sumanji. And I don't know, as I'm thinking about the C you mentioned and the example that coming to me, okay, this is very embarrassing, okay? Don't think about it too many other places. I'm going out of my way to say. At age 18, one of the biggest purchase I did, I got fake glasses. For some reason, this, I don't know, whatever dark circles I have, it is such a big deal in my head, and it has become bigger and bigger over the years. So whatever interview or whatever I was going, I needed to wear glasses to feel confident. I don't know. But then since then, it has grown a little bit more. I don't need to wear this right now, but I feel better. And one day, like all this reflection and Vedanta, I had to catch myself and tell myself, Zui, what are you doing? You don't need to wear glasses. Now, one pair, another fake one, another fake one, another fake one. And it tells about me not being able to live virtue of integrity, right? Me thinking, I don't really care what people think about me, but at the same time acting a little bit differently. So that part of living authenticity, arjava, virtue, and value, I catch myself not doing it, and I'm like, whew, I need to redefine my definition of success. Why is it based on what other people are thinking about my dark circles? I have done that same way about my profession many times. I know how Indians think in their head when I say I'm a social worker. Very well. I know how they think. Either they start oversharing too much that I don't want to hear about their life, as if I have answers to everything, to like, she couldn't do well in math. I don't think she was good in studying. That's why she picked social work. They're all different things. I don't think she'll be earning enough money. All different aspects. So I've always said all these different things. You know what? I bring this much money to New York State. Smallest policy change we make, it at least affect 300,000 people. So see, I'm picking and choosing and sharing a part of my profession, which I think would be perceived goodly by the people who are listening. I'm like, oh, I'm not living in most authentic way. I could just say I'm a social worker and move on. Like, why am I concerned about what they are saying and thinking? And then I'm saying, I'm the most authentic person and I'm assertive. And I feel like I'm the person who would say what I need to say on my mind. I'll say it in a kind way, but I'll say it. And then I'm not able to live it all the time because I'm finding these aspects in me to get better at those virtues. of being authentic, if that's important to me. And the more and more I'm learning to be authentic, that burden is lifted. That facing stigma or me carrying that in my head, it just feels like a sense of relief to move on to the next burden that I'm carrying. But at least part of it is gone. Hope that sort of rings a bell for you. Maybe there's some things that we are carrying that are just not worth carrying. It's not at all. But then I'm following the other piece Sumanji mentioned and not the peace part. Um, it,
Zooey, I think you're frozen. Did she drop off? Sumanji, are you good to share until she's able to join back on?
Yeah, I think she's back. I saw her
Okay.
moving a little.
Okay.
but
Yep.
I think thank you everyone for listening. I think I froze for some part, but I just wanted to share the meaning trying to really live authenticity has brought in. So maybe one request that we had for everyone is to just, what is one thing you will commit to support the vision of success that you have set for yourself? One thing. It could be following one virtue. It could be about service, about surrendering. Put specific one if you can. Think about it. And as part of being authentic, being vulnerable, it has helped me grow. So hence asking you to also type it in chat.
Solid, vulnerable sharing, everyone. Really just appreciating many of these thoughts. To stop taking credit or acknowledgement for things I do for others. To stop presenting myself alternatively depending on who I'm around. To be more authentic in my own way. Not pretend to live the life that people think I should be living. There's this awesome quote by a sadhu that I can't remember the name of. But he goes on to share, you're not who I think I am, or rather, I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am, who you think I'm thinking I am. Walk through that. Walk through that. We'll pause here for a moment, and I think we have some time for questions, team. If anyone wants to ask or share anything that's on their mind, please feel free.
So Minji, I got a chance to attach a file that turned out to be very meaningful to me because of Meaningful Morning. So it has these virtues from chapter 16. And what Vivekji had done for us, he had given these proofs or signs of whether I'm living that virtue or not.
Mm.
It was so eye-opening for me to think about Arjava and am I really being authentic or not? Because it has these signs. Oh, I did this today. That means I'm really not being authentic. Because my mind tricks me about my own definition of success. So just sharing it with everyone. You can print it, cut it out, sort it, prioritize them. Think about living one by one.
Yeah, totally. Solid sharing, Zui. And really, in our commitment to redefining our vision of success, what this means in our lives, this is a very actionable way to realize this. Just choose one and try. Just choose one and try.
Can we get started with questions for a few minutes then?
Sure.
Any questions, you can just put your hand up in virtually, or you can raise your hand. Sravanti has also put in a form in the chat if you would prefer to ask your question anonymously. Maybe Sravanti, you can ask any questions that come in through there if you're okay with that.
We have some already.
Great. Okay, awesome.
The first one is, do you have any suggestions for embracing responsibility without overextending oneself? How can I embrace responsibility without spreading myself too thin? Hariom.
There you go. Such a good practical question, right? Because then we're just going to start saying yes to everything. And then everything is just going to fall apart, right? I think one of the most powerful statements that was told to me when I was living in the ashram was by Kananji, who's the principal of the Vidyalaya there. And he would ask me something. And right after he would ask me, he'd be like, can you do this? Can you prepare the lab for the school so they can take exams? He would look at me and he'd say, no is also an answer. No is also an answer. And the idea there wasn't, no, I can't do that, just to drop no's everywhere. The idea was to think carefully about what you can do and do well. Remember, we had shared do your best, not the best. And so to carefully think about what you can take on, do that, and strive to do a little more each day. And what you will find is the more you do, the more you can do. So start small. And as you begin to develop a relationship of trust and confidence in yourself, that what you do, what you commit to, you will follow through on, you will grow in that conviction. And so you will be able to do more. So think carefully about your current responsibilities, the quality of your work, how much time you have, prioritizing those, and do your best. Fair? Basically, I've asked you to think more. Reflect more about all that you do. And I'll share one last thought here, which goes to the first part of our satsang today, which is, what do you value? Not what do you say you value, but how are you spending your time? Does that reflect what you say you value? Those gaps need to be closed.
Thanks, Sravanti. You want to ask one more? I don't see any questions in the chat yet. We can maybe do one more question before we formally close.
Hariom, sure. Let's see. How do you acknowledge your own feelings while holding the ideal of wanting to be independently joyous always?
I'm going to try and interpret this as, how do I hold on to me while trying to embrace being independently joyous? Am I going to lose my sense of self? I think this is what this question is alluding to. When we think on embracing independent joy, often we feel like we're going to lose what we have, that we have to detach from everything. But when we think on surrender or detachment, it's not so much a shunning or letting go of everything, as though running into a cave and saying, I'm detached. The idea of a detachment is that we can enjoy, we should enjoy, but we shouldn't be attached to the idea that what we are enjoying is joy. We should rightly understand that the joy we're experiencing from the external is really, it finds its place in the internal. And when we have such a relationship, then we begin to naturally live a life of detachment with the understanding that, yes, I can enjoy XYZ, but it doesn't define my happiness. A way I like to think about this is, we see so many of our Swamijis and guides, they get to stay in so many people's homes, right? And so many people, like, I think one time we were in Portland, and I forget who, but they had this really cool, I think, AMG Benz. It was a two-seater. It went so fast. I was too scared to sit in it, but Vivekji drove it. And like, you think about that. It's awesome, right? Like, maybe you just want to sit in the passenger seat. Maybe you want to sit in the driver's seat. Someone floors it and you feel your brain hit the back of your skull for a second, right? And you get to enjoy that, but then you don't have to have the headache of, where do I park this when I go grocery shopping? How do I parallel park this car? Did anyone see me? How much is insurance going to cost if I buy this car? You see how there's so many other, as though headaches, when we become attached to that object being part of who we are, a dependent joy. But when we just come in and we get to experience it, you still get to be joyous, but not because of it, but because that's your nature. And you drive that car and then you move on. So try to begin thinking about it like this. You're not losing anything. In truth, you're gaining everything. Pause there. We'll shift to our team for some announcements.
Hariam, everyone. Heartfelt gratitude to Sumanji and Juie for leading such a reflective and meaningful workshop. I'll now just be sharing a couple of Mentorship Sangha related announcements, and then I will close formally, but we will stay a few minutes past 10 for some more Q&A. So first announcement is that mentors and mentees, please keep an eye out for an email from your pod leader. They'll be checking in with you over the next few weeks on how your mentorship journey is going and offer space for open sharing and any feedback that you may have. And secondly, we're trying to organize some summer virtual meetups. This will be within your pod, so you'll have the opportunity to connect with fellow mentors and mentees. So again, stay tuned for that email. And I'll now just close with 3 ohms. Om. 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 Hariom and good evening, everyone. And now just passing it back to Sumanji and Zui to answer any further questions. Hariom.
Julie will take the next two.
So you can raise your hand. Just a reminder, you can raise your hand virtually, or you can just put your hand up. Sravanti, do we have any more questions coming in through the form?
We have a few more so far.
Okay.
I can share if the audience doesn't want to share out loud. Let's see. Sometimes with sadhana, negative emotions come up and I feel like I'm not enough. Do you have any advice?
Sumanji, are you sharing?
I was
I can
saying,
share
Zui,
what
you
I
field
think,
this
but
question. Yeah. You share.
okay. When that happens to me, it happens quite a lot. And I think the first response that I get now is it's just another way of my ego trying to play games with me, whether it's superiority complex or inferiority complex. And I can't do so much I focused. But then I also remember Bhagwan Shiva quite a lot. Two eyes, justice and compassion. So I asked myself, am I living too much out of laziness? It might be true. I'm not doing enough. But over time there I get a sense of like, yes, I have done my best or our best. And then it's okay. I really tried. Like the other day, I just slept through my alarm. Slept through it. It hasn't happened in really long time. And it's a Nirvana Shatakam alarm. And my dream was we are on a yatra. And I'm like, I'm waking everyone up with my alarm. I'm waking everyone with my alarm. But my alarm went on and I slept. Fine. I knew I had tried my best. So
I'll add a thought to this too. When we're not feeling like we're enough, the way I would reframe this is it's because we want more. We don't want to settle for our current state. We know that there is greatness in each of us, and we want to realize that greatness. So it's not that we're not enough, it's that we want more. We want more joy. We want more independent joy. So it's not a sadness or a despondency. Really, it's an inspiration to be more, to want more.
Sure. Maybe we can take like one or two more questions.
Hariom, sure. Hariom, how should we think about reconciling the idea of success with the idea of us existing in this Maya?
Could you share that again?
Hariom, sure. How should we think about reconciling the idea of success with the idea of us existing in this Maya?
It's an interesting question. The truest success is realizing one is Satchitananda, that their nature is happiness. And that nature is through and through Maya and beyond Maya. And so when we're trying to redefine success existing in Maya, it's not that our success is going to be one of external fulfillment. It will not be through the world. The world and this body are merely a field and an instrument by which we can come to realize that one goal, that your nature is happiness, That's the only reason these two things are here. And that's the fundamental relationship that ties these two together. The idea of success being articles being circumstances, that is the secular vision, which leads to fleeting fulfillment, no rest. You know this, you have experienced it, we've experienced this. And so the opportunity to do something different, what are we going to lose by trying this? It's just like Cypher in the Matrix. He left the Matrix and he was like, no, I want to go back to the delusion. So he went back. You can go back. But why not experience that transcendent reality for yourself and then make the decision? Then make the decision. The world isn't going anywhere. It really isn't.
Last question.
Hariom, how do you cultivate empathy for those who have a different definition of success?
Julie, field this question.
There are times when I think I'm empathetic and I'm actually not. So I have some markers for myself to catch myself. And those are like, oh, I'll find agitations. I'll start comparing. I'll start seeing things in their lives that are like, oh, I wish I had them. So that's a different way of comparing. Or I'll say, oh, so good for them. I'm so glad for them. It comes with a different tone in my head. I might be saying it in the kindest way. So empathy for individual, it's very hard for me when people are making a choice of convenience, especially it comes for environment. That has been toughest spot for me. But if living by empathy is one of my primary values, and if I'm not living it, it's lack of integrity, and it's like a circular thing that I've put myself into. So the only choice is there to accept and live with empathy, right? Does that make sense? Whether I like their opinion or not, it's like everyone's place of living and growing. There are 100 other things that others don't like about me. So then would we have a world that's totally unempathetic towards everyone? So it just doesn't make sense to me. That's what I do.
Well, thank you both so much, Sumanji and Juie. This was an amazing workshop, and it's just so cool to see the energy of the retreat continuing to flow through us in a virtual way. So we will close now formally and see you all at next month's workshop. Hariom.
You will. Be happy to